Changing interest rates and healthcare, two things that can definitely have a large impact on your retirement, things that you're going to want to know and make sure that you're planning for as retirement is approaching. All that and so much more on today's episode of Elevate Your Wealth.
And now, Elevate Your Wealth with Mark Stimson and Casey Elkins.
Welcome into Elevate Your Wealth. Your hosts, Mark Stimson and Casey Elkins. You can find them right here in Seattle. Elevated Financial Management. Check them out online. Great resource website, efmnw.com. All letters, efmnw.com. Links to the TV show Elevate Your Wealth, as well as our radio shows in podcast form. So check it out, efmnw.com. Between Mark and Casey, 42 years combined experience and counting in the retirement planning business, and it's always about helping their clients get ready for their postseason. They are certified financial fiduciaries. I'm Morgan Patrick, consumer advocate. We go back and forth on so many topics. We get into the latest articles about retirement planning. You're going to have questions about your own retirement situation. We give you an opportunity to get on the calendar with Elevated Financial Management. The appointments that we make available on the program are complimentary. That means you leave the checkbook at home and you talk about your situation. And that situation might be, hadn't really thought about planning, sitting on a portfolio, but no plan. Or you're halfway down the path and you're working with somebody, but you're not being communicated. That would be a candidate for a second opinion. So stay tuned. We'll open up those appointments here shortly. So, Casey, welcome in. How was your week?
Oh, it's been great. Yeah. We had a good week. We've had nice weather here in Seattle, kind of unseasonably so, which has been good. And, my Mariners are heating up, right? So we're gonna take what we can get. We're gonna focus on the good. I'm not gonna think about the ones that they could have won that they didn't win. But they're doing really good, which is great. And it's been nice. When the weather's nice like this, my wife and I like to go out to eat, and we discovered a new restaurant in Bellevue that we really like called Earl's, which is really good. So yeah, that's been nice. And just enjoying it, man, taking it in. How about you?
No, it's been good, and I'm kind of like you, man. It's a great time of year, and the weather is perking up, and you can get outside, more activity.
Yeah.
And it gets me to thinking about, what you want to do long term. I always want to enjoy myself. And as we get closer to retirement, there's so many question marks. And I think a lot of people are out there. It's almost like they're intimidated to ask for help.
Yes.
It's a very personal subject when you start talking about your finances. But we kind of need to get over that. We need to sit down and map out what we're going to do, how we're going to do it, and working with a fiduciary firm, it gives you that confidence as you move through. And that's what we do each and every week here on Elevate Your Wealth. And it's all about having that plan. So, with that being said, you have picked out a couple of things that just came across your desk, and you really like these, and you scour the internet.
Yeah.
And again, I like this. Take the worry out of changing interest rates, and we are seeing some of those changes. And a lot of people are saying, in certain aspects of retirement planning, it's good, but then on the other side, it can be harmful.
Yeah, I'll say this, that rising interest rates often are discussed as being a bad thing, right? And we understand why, right? I mean, when you look at purchasing homes, the negative impact that has on your buying power, the negative impact that rising interest rates has on bonds is also very important. But, it's a double-edged sword, right? Because that interest rate rising has a negative impact on the bonds that you've already purchased, right? Where it's different is for bonds that you are now purchasing, right? So that is a change. So I'll say this, that, for folks that maybe have bonds as part of their portfolio, if you're thinking of this, well, I've got 60-40 portfolio or 70-30 or 50-50 or whatever kind of mix you're thinking that you might have, it's the bonds that you already own that were impacted by rising interest rates, which have already happened, right? I mean, we're beyond them rising. Right now, things are kind of neutral, potentially with an eye to lowering. But I'll say this, that with higher interest rates, where this can really be a positive for a lot of folks is it is giving you the ability to earn a higher rate of interest or a higher yield in safe investments, right? So CD rates have gone up drastically over the last couple years. CDs used to be kind of like this joke in the financial world of like, what am I going to do with this, guaranteed 1% or 1.5%? It's not going to net me out to very much, right? Or your checking account. You're lucky if you're getting 0.5% there, right? But things have changed, and with those higher interest rates, that has been a big positive. And so again, we like to focus on the positive, right? It's easy to get caught up in the negative, especially in the financial world. Like you said, Morgan, right? It's a very personal conversation to talk about finances. It's one of those things that even among friends, a lot of times finances aren't discussed, right? And sometimes it's because people are closed off to that conversation. Sometimes it's because people just feel intimidated about the finance world, right? And feel like maybe they don't understand how it works, and so they're embarrassed to discuss it. And a big reason why we do this show is with the explicit intent of just making this something that can be talked about. Yeah. It doesn't have to be high stress. It doesn't have to be an intimidating conversation. Mark and I spend all day talking with clients and working on plans for them and making these custom tailored plans. And you know what? The point is this. When I hire a professional to come out to my house and do some kind of repair, to do some electrical work or whatever it is, I fully expect that they know what they're talking about. I don't have to. That's the whole reason that I'm bringing them into the mix, right? Is because they're the pro. And that's the same thing here, right? The idea is you don't have to be an expert to have come have a conversation with us. You don't have to be a professional in the finance world to come chat with us and talk about getting a plan put together for you. That's what we're here for. That's the whole point, right? So it doesn't have to be this intimidating conversation, but of course there are things that can be intimidating about it, and we do our best to just keep it simple, to make it a very intimate conversation, and really try to break those walls down and break those barriers down so we can discuss openly what we can do to have a positive impact, right?
Yeah, I think the toughest thing for a lot of people is just making that initial phone call and getting in touch, and it's a little bit of a leap of faith because they haven't done this before,
right?
Or they haven't done it in a long time, and they want some assistance. So if you call, you grab an appointment. Again, these are cost free. You leave the checkbook at home, and you have this kind of conversation with Mark and Casey and their team at Elevated Financial Management. Again, 10 appointments. They're available now. Again, these are complimentary. All you got to do is call 866-668-3625. We'll tell you more about the appointment, how it's going to go as we move through this portion of the program. But you can grab one right now, 866-668-3625. But, keeping an open mind, too. So we're talking about, the changing interest rates. We kind of get set in our ways, Casey, when it comes to just everyday life and probably our finances as well. And things have been a certain way for so long that, if you're working with a fiduciary and you have this type of conversation, how important is it, to have that open mind and be, available for suggestion as far as what you might do as opposed to what you've been doing. So it's almost like you're going from a known path to maybe a little bit of a change of direction.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a really good point, right? That open-mindedness piece. I'm glad you bring that up because that really is key. I mean, that's all we do here is offer suggestions and ideas, and we don't tell people what to do. We're only discussing what those opportunities are, and really based on how the world is changing, how the market is changing, what the economy is doing, those kinds of things. And so, we have to keep an open mind, right? Because things are changing around us. I mean, interest rates had been down for quite some time. And when they come back up, it's like, oh my gosh, I haven't seen interest rates this high. And, I'm not going to be able to do, it's going to have this major negative impact. And there are some negatives, but there are positives as well. Here's another one that I'll give as a positive that I think is really interesting. So with higher interest rates, we talk about potentially refinancing your retirement, right? And what I mean by that is this. There are lots of folks who are in fixed investment type incomes or fixed income type investments, right? And they locked into those 5 years ago, 6 years ago, 7, 10 years ago, right? When interest rates were low. Well, now with interest rates higher, they might be able to move into something else. One of them that specifically comes to mind is this. We have seen a lot of folks come in recently with annuities that they purchased years ago or variable annuities that they purchased years ago. and they have the ability to move into something else because of where interest rates are that puts them in a much better situation, and it's a no-brainer. I mean, it's just literally a side-by-side comparison, and we see that you can produce more income or you have more opportunity or whatever it is that your circumstance might require, and we custom tailor to that. But the idea here is that there are positives when interest rates go up, right? So we don't want to be so caught up in the negative that's having that we miss out on the idea that there's other things out there for us that really could have a positive impact. But again, it comes down to a conversation, right?
Yeah.
Because you've got to find out what those choices are and have that discussion around your specific circumstance to figure out if it makes sense for you.
It's all about options. And, look, if you've got any questions, the opportunity to get on the calendar with Elevated Financial Management is right now. So, Casey, we've got these 10 appointments. They are complimentary. They're leaving the checkbook at home. Walk us through what's going to happen.
Well, this is for those that want a written plan put together by a team of certified financial planners. That's exactly what we're going to do. And the key here is that this is not a cookie cutter plan, right? This is not a one size fits all type of plan. What I would refer to as a one-size-fits-none type of plan. This is a custom-tailored plan for you specifically. So if you pick up the phone, you give us a call right now, we're going to talk about the investments that you currently have, what type of risk you're currently taking, what taxes are going to do to your retirement, how inflation is going to impact you. Do you have the opportunity to capitalize on the current potential with interest rates, and can you turn that into a positive for yourself? So there's a lot more that we'll discuss, but again, custom tailored just for you. Don't hesitate. Pick up the phone. Give us a call.
This is your opportunity. We have 10 appointments. Again, Elevated Financial Management. They're opening up their doors to you. It is complimentary. Leave the checkbook at home. Call the number, 866-668-3625. That's 866-668-3625. If you have not started planning, you're sitting on that portfolio, don't procrastinate any longer. Grab an appointment, 866-668-3625, or if you need that second opinion, one of these appointments is for you, 866-668-3625. When we return on Elevate Your Wealth, healthcare estimates can send a financial plan off the tracks. It's a hot article. We'll talk about it when we return. Welcome back into Elevate Your Wealth. Your hosts, Mark Stimson and Casey Elkins. You can find them right here in Seattle. Elevated Financial Management. Check them out online. EFMNW.com. All letters, EFMNW.com. There are links to the TV show Elevate Your Wealth, radio shows in podcast form. There's an events tab there. Any event that's coming up, you can find it. That's EFMNW.com. Again, helping hundreds of their clients get ready for retirement. 42 years plus combined experience in the business, certified financial fiduciaries. I'm Morgan Patrick, consumer advocate, and I just hang on, folks. We talk retirement. We get moving. We also give you an opportunity to get on the calendar with Elevated Financial Management. The appointments that we make available through the radio are complimentary, so stay tuned for that. Guys, Mark's joining us. Mark, welcome in. And I asked Casey earlier in the program. I'll ask you, how was your week?
It was good. Yeah, it's good. I know he probably mentioned it, but the Mariners are winning some series now, so that's always good for us. Mm-hmm. That's a big one. And the weather's been pretty decent, so a little rainy this week so far. But yeah, I'm happy. I'm happy to be here. Happy to be with you, Patrick, and also those that are listening, because I think we got some cool stuff to really talk about today.
We certainly do. You missed it, though, but Casey was able to click his heels on air. He was so excited about Seattle.
Yeah.
It
was impressive.
It was impressive. Mm-hmm. A lot of our radio listeners may not know this because my studio is in a different area. We do have video so we can watch each other and do hand cues and all that good stuff. Casey was bouncing all over the studio. He's excited about Seattle.
I just want to know, was there any flying monkeys?
It was a magical. Not until you got in the room.
Yeah.
Oh, but we do like to have some fun, but we do get into some serious conversation about retirement, the importance importance of planning. And again, there are things that are going to impact you as you move towards your retirement date, things you need to be considering. I like to use the metaphor, paint the picture of, if you had a stove, these need to be on the front burner. You need to be aware of them. This next one is a big one. Healthcare estimates. I mean, listen, they can send a financial plan totally off the rails, into the ditch. And a lot of people aren't thinking about that, guys, because they're so focused on the go-go. They're so focused on leaving their job and heading off into retirement and thinking about palm trees and mixed drinks and golf courses and travel. And I mean, all these different things. You can't forget about healthcare. Yeah,
in fact, it's funny. We know that this is you mentioned it, Morgan. If there's going to be something, the atom bomb that's going to go off in your plan, this is it. It's devastating. And I'm in this business really because of what happened to my own grandparents. So my grandfather got Alzheimer's, went in the facility in his early 90s, and he lasted almost 6 years, and it wiped all their liquid assets out. So I'm passionate about this. This stuff matters, and this is why, and I know Casey we mentioned on every show, you need a plan. How do you address this if it does happen? Just medical costs. My wife is a couple years younger than I am. I'm on Medicare. She isn't yet, so I'm carrying her right now. And that's an easy $1,000 a month just for her right now. And so, again, you've got to have a plan. How do you pay for this? One of the biggest concerns is people that want to retire. They're worried about how are they going to pay for medical once they separate from service, right? And they either retire or they get let go or downsizing, whatever the reason, you need a plan. And we have Medicare specialists here in our office that can help put together not only A and B with you, but also a supplement or a Med Advantage plan. So, but again, long-term care, the other piece of this, that's the one that a lot of people seem to not want to talk much about, but it is something that if you don't, it can really wipe you out. So you don't want to just continue to forget about it, to kick the can down the road, because then if your health changes and you don't qualify from an underwriting standpoint, well, then you have a lot less limited options. So I think this is something we talk about all the time, right, Case?
Yeah, we do. I mean, this is really, really important, right? And, I just want to draw maybe a comparison. The reason we're talking about this is because this impacts retirements, right?
It does.
What we find is that there are a lot of financial advisors out there, and that's great, right? They do a good job. I mean, we've seen a lot of folks that do a tremendous job for their clients being financial planners or financial advisors, but they're not talking about healthcare. They're not talking about how a trust might play in for you. They're not talking about what taxes are going to do to your retirement and how you structure things differently in retirement versus when you're building and saving for retirement. So the reason we're talking about this is because we're holistic retirement planners, right? And this is something that you've got to be aware of. And kind of bringing it back to this study, the cost is tremendous, right? I'll just quote the first part of this. It says to have a 90% chance of meeting healthcare expenses, a 65-year-old man enrolled in Medigap Plan G with an average premium would need to save $184,000 for healthcare in retirement.
Wow.
And a woman would need $217,000. So for a couple, that's $351,000. And that's according to the Employee Benefit Research Institute, right? So these are some folks that do the research. They know what they're talking about, right?
They know their numbers.
Yeah, they do. And those are huge numbers, right? That's a big deal. And that has a major impact on what you can spend and do with the rest of your money, right? How you can live the rest of your life. And so this is something that when we talk about financial freedom and living the retirement you want to live, if you don't have a plan for Medicare, if you don't have a plan for medical, you don't have a plan for retirement, because this is going to impact how you live your life.
Well, we talk about, and Mark, I'll let you jump in here in just a second. I was just going to say, we talk about what-if scenarios, and so many of us are like, oh, I'm healthy, I'm going to be okay, I'm going to slap a Band-Aid on it, I'm going to enjoy my retirement. Folks, you got to plan for the what-ifs, and just those numbers alone, 184 for a male, Medigap Plan G average premium, and then 217 for a female, and you add them both up, that's 351 for the couple, and that's not long-term care.
Yeah, exactly.
Those are numbers you have to plan for. You can't ignore them.
Yeah, in fact, it's funny because I love toward the end of this study they made a really good point. And this is, we talk about how every plan needs to be individualized for you, nobody else. And it says factors such as health needs, preferences, goals, and location must be considered when planning for health care costs in retirement if you want to plan accurately. Because where you want to be, costs are different, right? So do you have a plan? That's what we're talking about here. You need to have a plan for this. Please, if you're listening, don't ignore this, because it can really mess you up and mess your whole plan up. If you're fortunate enough to have one, most people don't even have a plan. They're winging it. And this could be devastating if you don't address it or want to just let it go.
Well, and what we do on the program is we offer up appointments with Elevated Financial Management. You can have these types of conversations.
Yeah.
If you have any questions about, where you currently are on your time horizon when it comes to retirement, where you should be in a planning standpoint, you'll talk about that. But also, do you have the puzzle pieces? Now, guys, we talk about the puzzle pieces all the time, and one of them is going to be healthcare.
Yeah.
And there's going to be another one in there. It might not be a big one, but it's going to be in there. It's going to be long-term care. And when you have these types of conversations, sitting down, you're getting to know a potential client, or if you're working with a current client. I mean, these are conversations that you have to have, and to make sure you have all your puzzle pieces so you can put it all together.
Yeah. And I just want to really emphasize this, because it's a hard subject when we have to face our own mortality. Our kids don't want to talk about it a lot of times, or some parents will say, "Oh, my kids are going to take care of me," and they want to ignore this, but you don't know what you're really saying, right? It's easy to say my kids are going to do it, but it ends up not being the case a lot of times. When you're a full-time caregiver, there's so much involved there. You don't realize what you're saying until you're in a crisis mode. And that's what we don't want our clients to face. Have a plan for this, because I don't want my children. I've talked to Casey about, taking care of me, and he's like, no, not doing it. That's the reality.
That's not
He
true.
did not
Get out
really
of
say
here.
that.
No, I didn't say that.
Yeah. We laugh about this, right? Or I can't
shoot,
tell you
man.
guys, if you're listening, how many males, especially, I belong to the Hemlock Club of Washington, and I just want to say to those that say, I'll kill myself before I'll go into a nursing facility or assisted living. And what I will say to this is, if you've got Alzheimer's, how are you going to find the gun? Okay, so we laugh about these type of things, but these are real conversations we need to have, because this stuff can be devastating if you don't have a plan.
Well, and I tell you, first step is to sit down and have the conversation, and we're offering that up today. Again, we have 10 appointments. They are complimentary. You leave the checkbook at home. Mark, kind of walk us through how these appointments are going to go.
Yeah, so please pick up the phone, give us a call. We've got a team of certified financial planners, and what we're going to do is we're going to individualize a plan for you. We're going to look at taxes. Casey mentioned this. We're going to look at, is your income secure? What about what we just talked about? Do you have any plans for long-term care, your Medicare supplement plans? Please pick up the phone. Let's just have a conversation. Keep your checkbook at home. If you've worked at Boeing or any of our other wonderful companies here in the Pacific Northwest, give us a call. Let us sit down, have a conversation, and see if we may not be able to help.
All right, folks, we have the 10 appointments. They are complimentary. If you've saved $250,000 or more towards your retirement, these strategies are going to work best for you. Call the number now, 866-668-3625. That number again, 866-668-3625. Again, this is about having confidence as you move towards your retirement, knowing that you've got a plan and it's customized to you. 866-668-3625. When we return on Elevate Your Wealth, we'll get more into some of the hottest news out there in retirement planning. Probate is a 4-letter word. Let me count that up. Probate. That's more than 4, but we'll talk about it when we return. Welcome back into Elevate Your Wealth, hosted by Mark Stimson and Casey Elkins. Plus 42 years combined experience in the retirement planning business. They are certified financial fiduciaries helping their clients get ready for retirement. You can find them right here in Seattle. Elevated Financial Management. Check them out online, EFMNW.com. All letters, EFMNW.com. Links to the TV show, Elevate Your Wealth, radio show in podcast form. There's an event tab. You click on that. You'll find out all the upcoming events. Get signed up for those. And here on the radio show, we offer up appointments, and they are complimentary. We'll tell you about those as we move through the program. But this is about getting you on track for retirement. You've saved your entire working life, and you feel like, you know what, my portfolio is going to carry me through. Got a little Social Security. I'll just start taking money from my accounts. How are you going to map that out? How are you going to handle taxes? What about healthcare? We're in the middle of a healthcare conversation right now. These are all things that will go into your retirement plan. So, stop scratching your head over there. Grab one of these appointments and get the process started. Or if you need that second opinion, maybe you're not being communicated with your current advisor or advisory firm, let Mark and Casey take a look, see what's going on there. 866-668-3625. All right, we're back to the healthcare, gentlemen, so let's jump back on this. And again, the estimated numbers we're talking about, it's not always in the numbers, and of course we get fixated on averages. So, Casey, take it away.
Well, I thought it was important that, we talk about the study. It kind of zoomed in on 4 specific people, right?
It did.
And I think what's really interesting here is that this ties in so well with what we're constantly saying, is that we don't do cookie cutter planning, because things are different in your circumstance, right? So out of these 4 circumstances that are discussed specifically in the article, 3 of them actually spent substantially less on their healthcare expenses than what the numbers say, but one of them spent substantially more. So when we talk about these averages, you're not going to be right on that number, right? 50% of the people are below, 50% of the people are above, right? Kind of idea. And so this is where that specific customized planning is so key, right? Because if you are overestimating, right, substantially, let's say you overestimate substantially how much you need to save for medical, that's a good thing, right? I mean, it's good to have that cushion on that side of it, but you could have allocated that money elsewhere too, right? You could have maybe taken another trip. You could have maybe spent more time with the kids at Disneyland or whatever it is, right? And so, working to be as accurate as you can and having a customized plan, having something custom tailored to what you specifically need, that concept is so important. And I would say is the cornerstone of everything that we do here, right? And that's why that conversation is so important. A lot of times folks, we'll get phone calls from the show, right? And it's like, well, how could I invest, $50,000 or something like that? And it's not a bad question, right? But a lot of times our answer is, we need to know more about you, right? Because I don't have this really shiny new object investment tool to talk to you about. That's not what we do, right? We do custom tailored plans. And what you need in your individual circumstance is likely very different from the last client that we talked to and very different from the next client we talk to. So you want to make sure that whoever is helping you plan is building something just for you and asking you those questions, digging deep into what you've got going on so they can build something just for you.
And it makes me think of, we get so wrapped up in the offensive side of planning, like, gaining numbers, trying to make money, trying to cushion our accounts. And if you look at it from a football standpoint, and I like to do that because we're guys, we like football, and girls like football too. But you have your offense, you have your defense, you have your special teams. I mean, there are different aspects to the game. You need to have them all to be successful on the football field and have those skilled players in all those positions. But you can't just go offense and have zero defense unless you're in the NBA. But you know what I'm saying. I mean, in football, if you've got the total package, you are going to have a better chance at success.
Yeah, that's a really good analogy, a really good illustration, because your life is changing, and the way you use different tools as you plan for retirement and as you're building for retirement, right? So maybe you're 20 years away. The tools you use then that will make you successful are very different from the tools that you use when you're 5-10 years from retirement or 5 to 10 years into retirement, right? And things have to change. The game has to change. And so that's a great concept, right? Offense, defense, special teams. We use them in the right place depending on what we're trying to accomplish. And so, once you've built a large nest egg for retirement, now it's time to change things a little bit. Play some defense, right? Bring in the special teams and make sure that you're keeping what you've worked hard for and employing it the best way possible. And so, again, that's where that plan comes in, right?
Listen, I tell you, it's so important to, have your plan in place. We often talk about, saving early, saving often. You need to plan early. You need to plan often. It's never too late. But certainly the earlier you get going, you can smooth out any kind of bumps you have in front of you as you move towards retirement. The opportunity to get on the calendar with Mark and Casey and their team at Elevated Financial Management is going on during the course of this show. These are complimentary appointments. If you've saved $250,000 or more towards your retirement, these strategies are going to work best for you. Again, call the number 866-668-3625. 10 spots, 866-668-3625. And we are hitting some of the hottest news in retirement, articles that have come across the desk at Elevated Financial Management. They want to share this information with you, and we're going to move to this. Probate is a 4-letter word. Mark, I know you've got some strong thoughts on this. This happens when planning doesn't happen, and it's a big problem.
And it's, this is something that I've kind of been doing this type of work for over 30 years, just in with trusts and different wills. Now, I'm not an attorney. I don't profess to be. I tell my clients that, but I'm very good in this world, and we have attorneys that we work with. And really, what is probate? That's a lot of people wonder that. That's just like, I call it a roadmap to validate your will. It's going to be a way for you to retitle assets. Well, no, I shouldn't say that because you will be deceased. But, your family is going to be able to retitle assets so that they can be sold or moved to the beneficiaries that person wanted them to go to. But a lot of people today are fearing that process more than they are death itself, and there is a reason for this. It can be complicated and it can get messy. I'm dealing with one right now with actually a next-door neighbor who happens to be a client of mine. The daughter's going through some struggles. And so the bottom line is, I love what this one attorney said. He goes and he makes this point. He says, you're dealing with the court system. They have the best of intentions, but even the simplest of probates can turn out to be a nightmare. So this is what he was saying. He goes, when I'm educating people about probate during seminars and webinars, the first thing I want them to understand is that they do not have, if they do not have an estate plan, or if they use a will as their primary planning tool, this is what can happen. Listen to what he said. He said, you are relinquishing control of everything you own. Now, I want to repeat that. If you've got a will, you're relinquishing control of everything that you own, everything they worked their entire life to save and build, and even what their financial planners helped them to achieve is now in the hands of a government bureaucracy. People tend to forget that the judicial system is the third branch of the government, and that it, like everything else run by the government, can be overburdened, underfunded, and a bureaucratic mess. And this happens to so many people. So again, do you want to go through this, right? For our planning clients, they have to be planning clients, but we're going to help them set up a trust if that's really what their desire is. So again, everybody's well-intentioned, including the court system, the judges, but it doesn't always work out to be the way that they want it.
Yeah. I thought this was really interesting in the article, too. It says, in my world, probate has become a 4-letter word. When people talk to me about it, they seem to fear it more than death itself, but few truly understand why, right? Yep. And I think that's really key, right, is we're afraid of the unknown. Right. And you hear about, like, this boogeyman called probate, right, and the issues that it causes. And the reality is it does cause a lot of issues, right? We're not saying that it doesn't. We're not saying that it's fake. But it can be dealt with, right? But you got to have a conversation, right? You have to talk to somebody. You have to have a plan. You have to make sure that you're putting things in the right way. You're structuring things the right way. And I think even more so, what's so important is, a lot of times people go, and I mean, how often do people say this to us, Mark, right? They go, well, I'll be dead, so I don't care, right? I mean, we hear that a lot. And you know what? That's great. I respect the concept. I respect the idea. But what you do care about is the loved ones that you leave behind.
Your family.
Right?
Yeah.
So are you unintentionally creating a mess for them, creating something, a situation where they are now emotionally charged because they've lost somebody that they care tremendously about, and they now have to try and unravel your financial world, the assets that you own, and you've got siblings that, because of high emotional times, are maybe now fighting with each other just because of an emotionally charged time, right? It doesn't mean that the siblings don't love each other, but when things like this happen, it does create issues, right? And this is something that all of that can be dealt with in advance if we take a little bit of time to plan and we structure things the right way. It just takes a couple conversations.
Well, let me just add one thing to what Casey's saying here. It's unloving. I truly believe that I have 3 children, and it's just not loving to our children to ignore this or to leave a mess and have things not decide. I have one client, he's got 15 classic cars, but the one son has his eye on one of them. And it's been in writing now that that son gets that special truck. So again, you need to take care of business, and we can't just leave it to chance. Otherwise, families don't even talk now because of things that have happened because of money.
Well, it's a loss of control. I mean, we all like to be in a situation where we're in control, and when you don't have it, it's not a good feeling. So listen. We've got spots on your calendar, and if you've got a situation where maybe estate planning and getting this stuff in order is something that you really need to get done, it's a great launching pad for a conversation. We have appointments. So, Casey, walk us through. Again, we've got 10 openings. What's going to happen for these 10?
Well, again, it's a written financial plan put together by our team of certified financial planners. Now, we've been talking about probate. We've been talking about wills and trusts. That's an important piece of the puzzle. We're not attorneys, as we mentioned, but we do talk about that with all of our clients because we need to have a plan surrounding that. And importantly, the assets that we do manage for clients, how are those going to pass to the next generation? How do we make sure that we take care of that the best way that we can? In addition to that, the first step really is to make sure that those assets take care of you as a client, right? So how do we make sure your income lasts? How do we make sure that taxes don't eat up your retirement, that inflation doesn't eat up what you've worked hard for? Structuring things in the right way to guarantee your lifestyle. So we'll discuss all of that with you, among many other things. Don't hesitate. Pick up the phone. Call us now.
10 appointments, and they are cost-free. Leave the checkbook at home. Here's the number, 866-668-3625. That number again, 866-668-3625. When we return, we have scenarios. I'll throw them at the fellas. We'll see what they come up with. It's all coming up next on Elevate Your Wealth. Elevate Your Wealth, hosted by Mark Stimson and Casey Elkins. You can find them right here in Seattle, Elevated Financial Management. Check them out online. Great resource website, efmnw.com. All letters, efmnw.com. Again, links to the TV show Elevate Your Wealth, our radio show in podcast form. It's there for you. There's an events tab. Check that out. And we have another feature. You can always email your questions to the show. And if you have a question about retirement, the guys are going to get it. They'll answer it. You'll get it in your email. Questions at efmnw.com. That's questions at efmnw.com. Just ask your question, and you will get it answered. Again, Mark and Casey, 42-plus years combined experience in the retirement planning business, helping hundreds of their clients get ready for retirement. They're certified financial fiduciaries. I'm Morgan Patrick, consumer advocate. And speaking of events, before we jump into scenarios, guys, you've got one coming up.
We do. Yeah, we're looking forward to it. We teach these classes a lot, right? But we've got one coming up on Wednesday. Let's see, what is that date? It would be Wednesday at Green River. And the actual date, I got to think about this for a second. It's the 8th, Wednesday the 8th at 6:30. Too many things
look at the
going
calendar.
on, right? Yeah, I got to look at the calendar. So that's at Green River Community College. For those of you that listen to us on the radio and want to see what the workshops are all about and maybe just get a better feel for us in person and what we're like and the things we talk about, all that kind of stuff, please come to the workshop, right? There's no cost to attend. We'd love to have you.
And we make it fun, too.
Yeah, we make it fun.
That, yeah.
You'll have an opportunity to win a copy of our book, right? So we do a little trivia game at the beginning and give away copies of the book. And again, it's free to attend. You can register for it, right? So that's the best thing to do. It's better if you register in advance so we know that you're coming and we've got space for you. So for that, go to our website, right, which is www.efmnw.com. That stands for Elevated Financial Management Northwest.com. And you'll be able to see the event that we've got on Wednesday the 8th. And you'll also be able to see any upcoming events that we have beyond that as well. So everything is there for you. And like Mark said, we make it fun. I'd like to think we do a really nice job and really create some good information for our listeners. So
Yeah,
I see you smiling when I say that, Morgan.
No, I was just going to say. Plus, you get to experience the silky tones in person, right?
There you go. Yeah.
Yeah, got the radio voice going.
Yeah.
Talk some retirement. Play a little
yeah.
Frank Sinatra. We're good.
Yeah.
We're good. All right. Hey, scenarios. So listen, we're going to give you some scenarios. You guys come up with how you would handle it, and just remember, if you're out there in Radio Land and you're our listener, these scenarios might be similar to what you're going through, but they're not exactly what you're going through. So make sure for your retirement you have a customized plan put together. Opportunity to get on the calendar with Elevated Financial Management. Do that very thing is ongoing during the course of this show. All you've got to do, again, 10 appointments. They're cost-free. You leave the checkbook at home. Is call the number, 866-668-3625. All right, scenario number 1 to you, Casey. And Mark, you can chime in as well. 67 years old, retired, recently inherited $50,000 from a relative. I'm not interested in investing in the stock market. What are some other options I have to do with this money?
Yeah, that's a great question, and it's not one that we don't get actually fairly regularly. I'll say this, that there are a few options for you. I'm going to preface my comment with this. One of them is a financial bad word sometimes, right? So we're going to come back to that in a second. But the first one that I'll say is you could look at a CD, right? I mean, that's a great option, right? You're shielded from market risk in that regard. You can get a stated rate of return right now with where interest rates are, like we were talking about at the beginning
Numbers
of the
are
show.
decent.
Yeah, I mean, you've got lots of options there. Even high yield savings is better now than it's ever been, right? So, but a CD would be a solid choice. Something else, and this is where that financial bad word comes in, is an annuity, right? An annuity, using the right type of annuity, is shielded from market risk, but it does have upside potential. And it could earn you more than a CD, possibly, right, depending on the circumstance. So you do have some ability there. Now, is that appropriate for you? I don't know, right? Not without looking at the rest of your financial situation. There's some other details that would need to be had, but that is a possibility. You want to add some of that, Mark?
Yeah, what you could do here, you mentioned the annuity word, right? But what I do like about these, what are called MIGAs, multi-year guaranteed contracts, you can get them really for as short a term as 3 years. You don't even have to do like a 5-year CD. You could do a 3. But what's really interesting about these products is that they will guarantee you that rate for those 3 years. And usually it's going to be a better rate than what the bank will give us. So that's just another thing you could do on a kind of a short-term basis if you don't want to tie your money up.
Now, since you brought up the A word, how often when you're sitting down with someone, let's say for the first time, or maybe the first time the A word comes up in a conversation when you're planning, how often is it a negative reaction? And it's because of lack of knowledge on the current status of the annuity, because we kind of have, I think there are a lot of people out there that just have this misconception of there's just one annuity, it's bad.
Yeah.
And so their first reaction is going, I don't want to hear about it, don't want to talk about it.
Right, and that's exactly right.
That's it.
Casey and I would, if you were to ask us percentage-wise, it would be probably 60-70% of the people have a negative bias. But it is amazing how that changes when they really get educated about the different types and how they work. That's the thing. We partner with our clients here. We don't recommend an annuity for everybody. We just don't. They don't make sense for everybody. But they make sense for a lot of people in a lot of situations if they want guaranteed income that they can't outlive. That's the best place to go. I don't care what anybody else says in that regard. I'll hang my whole career on that. Something to really keep in mind because it does matter. They can't outlive that income, and it's guaranteed for life. It's a pension, okay? And how many of us would like to have pensions? I know I would. I'm not going to have one, so I got to create my own. How do I do that? I can do that with an annuity, nothing else.
It's worth a conversation.
Yep.
And we often talk about being open-minded and being ready to possibly pivot. Working with a fiduciary where they're going to put your interests out front. I mean, you're the important. You're the client. So it's like you sit down with Mark and Casey at Elevated Financial Management, and if you come in and you expect to be sold something, that's not how this works. It's about planning. It's about presenting you with options, and then you're going to make the decision. They're not jamming stuff down your throat. So again, it's all about having the plan. All right, next scenario, gentlemen. Mark, we'll start off with you, and then Casey, jump in. Should I consider investing in an annuity?
There we go
Or
again.
stick with my long-term stocks if I don't like the risk associated with the market?
Well, that last part of that, if I don't like the risk associated with the market, we like to do a riskalyze score for every one of our clients. That kind of gives us a really good idea of how much risk they're willing to accept or not accept, right? A lot of people that say that they don't want much risk, but when we do a riskalyze, their score comes out, they can handle it a little bit, right? So again, it's really helping to educate them because what I might consider risky or conservative, Casey could say, no, I don't look at it the same way, right? Mm-hmm. Everybody has kind of a different opinion about it. So finding out what your risk tolerance is really important. Now, you mentioned the A word. What we do like about the annuity in that way is you can participate in the market where you're going to have caps and spreads and participation rates. You're going to give up some of the upside potential that the market gives us to eliminate the downside risk, meaning I don't lose any money ever, except in a variable annuity, and that's the one annuity that we will never talk about because we don't like them, never have, never will, and so that's an annuity that I think is pretty much worthless in our book. So again, there are annuities that matter, and that's the thing, is being educated enough to understand the different types.
Yeah, and like we were talking about, you asked the question just a minute ago, Morgan, right? Do people have a negative bias? A lot of folks do, right? It's exactly like Mark said, a lot of folks do. But really, it's about having an open-minded conversation and getting educated, right? Yeah. Because the annuity, I swear, at this point, it's the financial boogeyman, right? And it really doesn't actually exist under your bed as the boogeyman, right? That's it. You've got to take the opportunity to have that discussion. And Mark said that, you said this earlier, Mark, right? That we don't recommend them for every client. We don't, right? Nope. We don't recommend everything that we do for every client, right? Because not everything that we do fits for every client. It doesn't fit for every situation. Again, your situation is unique to you. So what do you need to be successful? What are your goals and where are you currently at? What tool can we use to help you accomplish those goals? That's really the big thing. And so with the annuity, it helps to accomplish certain goals, and it does it really, really well. There's other things that annuities don't do good at, and so we don't use them in that circumstance.
In fact, sorry, Morgan, but I just was thinking about something Casey just said. One of the things people, when they hear this and realize that every pension plan in America is an annuity, they're like, oh, even though they have all those options when the ones that have pensions, and they're all annuity options. They're like, okay, and they're glad to have that pension. Every one of them. We've never had one client that said, man, I wish I didn't have that pension of mine. I don't want that. Yeah, same way with Social Security. Social Security, when you really boil it down, it's an annuity. Mm-hmm. And those two sources of guaranteed income are game changers for people in their retirement life. So it's about education. That truly is what this is all about. You need to understand them, and I think once you do, it's going to change your view quite a bit.
Well, and you have so many tools at your fingertips, just do a search, and annuity sales, in recent memory have gone through the roof.
Oh,
Yeah.
skyrocketed.
And there is a reason why. People are worried about the uncertainty, and they are jumping on board. But they are educating themselves first. And the first thing you need to do is you need to work with a fiduciary. You need to sit down. You need to map this out. And as the fellows just said, if it's a good fit, you're going to talk about it. If it's not a good fit, they're not going to talk about it. But it's about having that plan. So here we go. We got 10 spots. Mark, what's going to happen for these 10 callers?
So please, if you may be retiring from Boeing, you got $250,000 or more, these strategies are going to work best for you. So please pick up the phone and let our team of certified financial planners put together a plan based on your specific situation. Maybe you've got questions about annuity now. Maybe you've got questions about, oh my gosh, I don't know what to do with my tax situation. Should I convert some of my money from a traditional IRA to a Roth? What about the medical piece we've been talking about today at length? Long-term care. Please, you're going to have questions. There's a lot to retirement planning. So please, let us have a conversation, pick up the phone, and we're going to talk with you. We're going to sit down and put together a plan that is going to be based on your situation and really help you get through retirement.
Hey, friendly conversation about your retirement, complimentary. Leave the checkbook at home. The number is 866-668-3625. That's 866-668-3625. If you've saved $250,000 or more towards your retirement, these strategies are going to work best for you. We've got 10 slots. They're open now. Call 866-668-3625. Another edition of Elevate Your Wealth is in the books. For Mark and Casey, I'm Morgan. We'll see you on the radio next week.
Investment advisory services offered through Foundations Investment Advisors, LLC, an SEC-registered investment advisor. The content provided is intended for informational and educational purposes only. The views, statements, and opinions expressed herein are those of the individual speakers and not necessarily those of Foundations and its affiliates. The information contained herein does not constitute an offer to sell any securities or represent an express or implied opinion or endorsement of any specific opportunity, offering, or issuer. Any discussion of performance or returns is not indicative of future results. Each individual investor situation is different, and any ideas provided may not be appropriate for your particular circumstances. Foundations only transacts business in states where it is properly registered or excluded or exempted from registration requirements. Registration as an investment advisor is not an endorsement of the firm by securities regulators and does not mean the advisor has achieved a specific level of skill or ability. No legal or tax advice is provided. Always consult with a tax professional. All rights reserved.